I was taught a fundamentally neutral golf grip, V to the right shoulder. When I test out, my V is to my nose like Ben Hogan. But I was taught to play golf V to the right shoulder. So if my V is to my right shoulder and I extend my arm with my right hand V to the right shoulder, full extension, which is giving me power, would close the club face. So where was my miss? For me, I'm a right-handed player. I missed it in the left trees. And at one point, I even called up Titleist and asked them if they could make me a set of open-face golf clubs because that was the only way I could actually hit the ball straight. And it wasn't until later, and I learned this measuring stuff, that I realized, oh, if all I do is just put my trail hand grip, in my case, my right-hand grip, V to the nose, now when I extend my arm, the club face stays square. So now I can be as powerful as I want and hit it dead straight.
This episode of the Golf Smarter Podcast is brought to you by mygolfingstore.com/golfsmarter, where Golf Smarter listeners get 50% off a brand new Eagle Eye Rangefinder with laser accuracy. This episode is also brought to you by T-Box Coffee, a premium coffee subscription for golfers delivered right to your door. And also this episode is brought to you by Draftkings Sportsbook app, an official betting operator of the PGA Tour.
Hi, this is Mitch Benzing. I live in Decorah, Iowa, and I am a current member at the Southwind Country Club. This is Golf Smarter, number 843.
Need to fix your golf swing? That depends. That and more from Top 100 instructor Josh Zander.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter Podcast, Josh.
Thanks for having me again, Fred. It's great to be here.
Oh, I love having you on, especially the beginning of the golf season, right? It's like spring has sprung. It's beautiful outside. Hopefully everyone's getting to play now. And they're like, oh, gosh, do I have so much rust in my game right now? It's killing me.
Yeah, I always think of like Masters Week as the official opening of golf season. But here in California, it doesn't end since we never get any rain. So it's been golf season since January 1st here.
Well, that's the good news, bad news, is we don't get rain, but we get to play golf 12 months a year in reasonable weather.
Absolutely, it's great.
How things going on YouTube? And you're very active on social media, which is really impressive because you have great content. And so you got your YouTube channel and your website and your app. And
mostly Instagram is where I post most things. And then all of my new videos over the last year and a half are on my app. So the Zander Golf app is where each week I add a new video to it. And I'm up to, I think, close to 140 videos now, and just keep adding to it. And I'm always, ideas are popping into my head and I just write them down. And there's another idea for a video that's going to help, just might be that tip that makes that golfer have the round of their life. So the more I can kind of throw out there into the universe and help people, it's all good. Growing the game.
So do you just like get an idea, write down the idea and then go with it? Or do you script it out? I'm curious how,
while you're teaching and communicating, you become creative and you communicate in different ways. And then you think to yourself, hey, the way that person just learned that would be a great thing that would help others. So I'll make a note at the end of the lesson just to do a video on that in the future. And so that's how it pops up. I mean, sometimes I'll be like about to go to sleep and it'll come to me, and I just keep a running tab of videos that I want to be making for the future. And it just, I can't keep up making them because the ideas are constantly popping into my head. And you would think by now, after almost 30 years of teaching, I'd run out, but no, I'm always learning. And so I want to pass that learning on to everybody else. And video is a great way for me to do it.
Do you ever fear of being redundant and going, oh, I did that 5 years ago?
No, I almost fear, if anything, that I did that 5 years ago and this is better. So maybe that's not as good as it should have been. But there's a great Canadian teacher named Henry Brunton, and I was at a seminar with him, and one of the students in the seminar, another teacher, was like, Henry, this is a better way of doing this. What's going to happen when I go back to my students and I teach them this instead of what I used to teach them? He said, you know what? tell them you reserve the right to improve as an instructor. And I thought that was a great line. And I think that's what we're all doing, whether as instructors or as players. We're just always trying to improve. And if I can say something more clearly or in a better way, or something new's come around in the golf business that either I've discovered or even others have discovered in research, with all the great tools we have now to examine the golf swing, there's constant information coming out, and I stay current on that. And then I develop my own creative ways of expressing that and helping communicate it to my students. Excellent.
I have to add, Danny Maud, who's another high-end YouTube contributor, golf instructor out of the UK. I don't know if you're familiar with Danny. And if you're not, check him out. You'll definitely like his work. Yeah, Maude. Anyway, he was on a couple weeks ago, or was it last week? And we talked about Manolo. Have you seen Manolo teaches golf yet?
No.
Oh, dude. All right. Well, there's two that you're going to have to look up.
Two things. Yes.
This guy has a completely different approach, but he's effective.
Love it.
And of all the teachers I've ever interviewed, this is the only guy that I hear quoted out on the golf course on a regular basis.
Oh,
he's
wow.
He's so outrageous. He's so much fun. But he has great tips. Anyway, let's get back to Xander Golf. I don't want to spend too much time. I think I've let everybody know that he exists. Tell me what's going on with the app, Xander Golf app.
It's going great. It's I think it's at about a year and a half into it now, and there's a chance for you to communicate on the forum, ask me questions, give me ideas if you want to. A video want me to present that you're interested in, I can do that as well. And it's got a chance for you to do online lessons. So if you can't see me, if you're somewhere else in the country and you can't see me, you can send me videos and I can do an analysis on that. So is that part of it? And then then there's the video library on all aspects of the game that'll help you learn. So it's fun to use. It's the videos I try to keep them 2 minutes or less. Just so I don't bore you too much and just kind of get to the point. And so it's all good. It's been a lot of fun as a project, and it's my way of being able to reach out beyond Northern California to other students throughout the world.
And that's amazing that you have the ability to do that. Now, is there a fee associated with the app?
Yes, there's a fee. It's $99 for the year, but there's a special for your listeners. Use the coupon code GolfSmarter, and I think you'll put that in the notes so they can your listeners can check it out, and it's 50% off. So I think it's $50 for your first year subscription to the Xander Golf app. So all of my knowledge from all of my life and all the great teachers that I've had a chance to spend time with, and then my version of what the information is all right there.
And, that was too easy of a setup, because I knew the link was there, and I wanted you to let everybody know that there's 50% off. And if you think about it, you're thinking, oh, I'm spending $50 on an app. No, think about it this way. If you can have a top 100 instructor at your disposal for $50 a year, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's one round of golf, maybe, right? Okay, a round and a half. It's...
when I go to seminars and I'm out, like I said, I'm always trying to stay current and listen to all the other great teachers talk about the game. If it's just one or two nuggets that will help me be a better player or a better teacher, that to me is so worth the plane trip, the airfare. When we get together and do these conferences, we get to chat, in between speakers and talk about things. And it's like, that's where so much gold is there information-wise that's going to help you either become a better teacher or a better player. So anyway, I would encourage everybody to take a look at it. And after a year, if you don't like it, you don't have to subscribe for the next year. But there you go. You get a chance to really get access to all that knowledge. And it's not just my knowledge, because a lot of what we do is we build on the teachers that came before us. And that's part of what I plan to do as my career starts to wind down here in the next 20 years. Is I'm just passing it all along for the next, or maybe not, who knows? I've got a lot of golf instruction left in me.
Don't threaten us.
But passing it along. Yeah, passing it along is basically what it's all about. And just to see the smile on somebody's face was like, oh my God, that one tip. I had a student come to me the other day, and I don't know what his expectations were, but I got an email from him the next day saying, "You've changed my life." And I'm like, well, I changed your grip, and I changed your posture, and I changed your ball position, and now you're hitting it great. If that changes your life, well then,
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
So who knows? There might be something in there, and that you like, and it works for you, and it's all good.
We're so dramatic as golfers. You've changed my life. It's like, Fred Shoemaker, how he talks about that, he talks to all these great instructors in a room full of instructors who are, not just single digit, but low digit handicaps or plus handicaps. And are they happy? Right? Because they had a lower score? You've changed my life.
Yeah.
Let's keep things in perspective, folks. We got to keep things in perspective.
It's important, though, because this is, for a lot of people, this is their release. This is their chance to have a good time. And if they can do it a little better, it changes your life, makes you a happier person. And when I tell my golfers in general, but especially the younger kids that I teach, I say, what did you do today that makes you better than you were yesterday? Well, maybe it was a better choice at the snack bar, and you took the banana instead of the Milky Way. Or maybe it was like I put a little extra time in on my chipping, or I read something and I made a little adjustment, took a lesson, made a little adjustment, and I started hitting the ball with the shot shape that I was looking for. Whatever it is, just what can you do today to make yourself better? And just enjoy the process of doing that, because that's what we're doing. We're living that process, and the result is the result. It is going to be what it's going to be, but enjoying that. So I can see how, people who really love the game, and I got an email the other day from another instructor, because I work with him on my game. I'll say his name, Terry Rolls. Great, fabulous instructor.
I had Terry on years ago.
I'll send him my swing, and as I'm working on some things, and then I'll send him some images. In this case, it was I think it was some Ben Hogan image, and he just replied with one word: addict. And I said, guilty as charged. I am a golf addict. I want to get better. I still think the best golf is ahead of me as far as ball striking is concerned. And I want to get better as an instructor. And that's just kind of, I just love that process. So yes, I am a golf addict. I admit it.
And I think that we're all standing in line right behind you. And that's why we keep listening to content like this. Yeah, and that's why we're spending time on YouTube, or we're listening to podcasts.
Yeah. You do a great job of getting all this out there. I think you do a fabulous job of, you get really interesting speakers, and it's educating. It's educating everybody, and it's fantastic. So kudos for you for doing that.
Thank you very much. Let's take a time out right now, and we'll fan myself off for being so impressive. We'll be right back. This episode of the Golf Smarter Podcast is brought to you by mygolfingstore.com, home of the Eagle Eye Rangefinder. How do you measure yardage for your approach shots to the green? Do you pull out your phone and try to read a GPS map? That doesn't work for me, as I play a couple courses locally that doesn't have any cell service. Do you count off steps to the closest yardage marker? Maybe you have a wearable that provides front, middle, and back to the green. But really, to gain a strategic advantage, accurate yardage directly to the pin is the most important number you can have. That's why I've really fallen for the Eagle Eye Rangefinder from My Golfing Store. Personally, I use an app on my watch to get the front, middle, and back. But then I pull out the Eagle Eye Rangefinder from the easy access case hanging on my push cart, and then get the exact yardage I need to gain the confidence on how to play my next shot. And here's the most amazing part of the process. It's faster than the GPS map on my phone. It's faster than walking off the steps to the nearest marker. It's faster because, despite my shaky hands, once I click on the locate button, the Eagle Eye Rangefinder flagpole lock function grabs onto the target and provides haptic feedback along with the information I need. And that not only includes yardage, but it also utilizes slope technology that recognizes the horizon and gives me an additional, more accurate number to the pin, even from 800 yards out. So if you think that it takes longer to get yardage from a rangefinder and slows the pace of play, then you've not used an Eagle Eye Rangefinder. And now is the best time to get one for yourself, because I've worked out a special deal with my golfing store to give the Golf Smarter community a 50% discount on this $260 piece of gear. You heard me right. For a very limited time, the Eagle Eye Rangefinder is only $129 for Golf Smarter listeners when you head over to mygolfingstore.com/golfsmarter or click on their ad at golfsmarter.com. It's really nice for me to have sponsors on the podcast, but if I have a chance to do so, I want to bring in a sponsor that brings value to your game. And we've exceeded all my hopes and dreams with this partnership. So go to mygolfingstore.com/golfsmarter today and secure your rangefinder. That's mygolfingstore.com/golfsmarter to pay only $129 US for a rangefinder that easily competes with the $400 models and surpasses most of the other products available today. Remember, this is a limited time deal and you don't want to regret missing this opportunity. Go there now, mygolfingstore.com/golfsmarter. And I want to thank them very much for their interest in the Golf Smarter community. So often we talk about getting fitted for your clubs and getting fitted for balls, perhaps. Even recently we talked about getting fitted for your mental game. But what about, not every teacher is showing their students video of here's Tiger swing, here's Rory swing, because they want you to be like that. They want you to have the best swing. They want you to see the proper mechanics in place. But your swing is your swing. So should we get fitted for our swing?
Oh, 100. If there's a larger number percent, that is absolutely correct. Because you're your biomechanics are your biomechanics. And if you're trying to do something that somebody else does, unless their biomechanics match yours, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to be consistent. You might even injure yourself. So what you want to be able to do is, and what I do with every student is I do a 5-minute biomechanical assessment to understand how they're designed to swing the club. And then I make sure that they're fitting that blueprint. So if they're not, then it's going to be really hard to do something repetitively and powerfully. And like I said earlier, you could even injure yourself if you're trying to do something that another player can do that you can't. I'll give you an example. Like one of the assessments that, and these are all done started by Mike Adams, fabulous Hall of Fame instructor. But one of them is external shoulder rotation. So if I just take my arm and I go like this, I have some external shoulder rotation. A lot of people I'll give that test to and they can't do that. Well, that motion right there.
Most of us are audio only, so let's see if we can be a little more descriptive on that. So you're putting your, go ahead. I'm putting
my arm out at 90 degrees. So right now, my right shoulder, my upper arm is level to my shoulder, and then I'm holding like a stop sign up with my right hand.
Okay.
And then I'm saying to you, can you take your forearm and move it backwards to test your external shoulder rotation? If you can do that, then you can shallow the club. If you can't do that, you're going to have the club come down steeper. So then we have to adjust something else in your setup that allows the club to shallow out. But if you try to do what Matt Wolf can do and Jim Furyk can do and shallow out the club like that, you're going to injure yourself, or at best not be very repetitive, because it's hard to do that every time. And it's not what your body's designed to do. So then your other parts of your body are going to try to compensate. So you're just going down a really difficult road at that point.
So if I list my arm like that, and I'm doing that, how far should I go back when I feel discomfort that I'm like, oh, I've gone too far? Or is that the proper amount?
Yeah. So the proper amount is whatever amount you did, because that's the proper amount for you. Right. So so we can categorize everything in golf as being a steepening angle or a shallowing angle or a neutral angle for that matter. If you put your arm out like that and I say, show me your external rotation, and you have none, that means that your club's going to come down on a steeper plane, which means I have to shallow you out. So I'm going to close your stance to help you shallow out. There's no rule in golf that says you must have a square stance parallel to the target line. That's maybe how average golf is taught, but that may not be how you're designed to do it. I play from a closed stance because I have a grip that makes the swing go left. So I need a stance that's closed to make my swing go more right. And that matches up, and I can hit it straight on the very first try, not having to hit 20 balls to figure out how to hit it straight. So there's a series of 5 or 6 just real quick assessments. So a lesson with me is real simple. The first thing is I'm just going to watch you hit some balls and just see what you do, so I know what's going on. The next thing I'll do after about 3 or 4 minutes, usually after one swing, I already know what's going on, but I let you warm up for a few minutes, and then I do the assessment. And once I do the assessment, the answers come out as to how you should swing the golf club. And then we just match you up to make sure that based on how you're designed, you can still get the club coming from the correct angle, taking the right amount of ground, bottoming out in the right place, and being as powerful as possible. Once you get all those parameters intact, we can actually start to build power on top of that. But the first thing is, based on how you're designed, this is how you will hit it the best. This is how your left hand grip should be. This is how your right hand grip should be. This is how your stance width should be. This is how your feet should be flared or not flared. This is whether your stance should be closed or open. All the pre-shot things that will then let you ultimately swing unencumbered, completely free, and trust knowing the fact that you will hit the ball solidly and as straight as you can physically do. Now, anytime you're not going according to your blueprint and you're fighting your biomechanics, you will basically be in compensation mode. And compensation mode will never let you free it up and let it go. You'll always be worried about the result. You'll always be trying to manufacture something. And it's a trap that a lot of players fall into, where they look at golf on TV and say, oh boy, Brooks Koepka is doing this. Well, Brooks Koepka plays his best golf with a weak trail hand grip. That's biomechanically strong for him. And if you try to imitate that and that's not correct for you, you're probably going to slice the golf ball. So there's no, like you said, your swing, there's no one way. There's the best way for you. And if you try to do it a different way because your favorite player does it that way, or because you saw something on TV, or you read a magazine, that becomes a problem, because then you're fighting your own body, and that's not a fun way to play golf. Ultimately, I use a story all the time. I say, when you listen to a player who's just won a tournament, they usually say, I trusted it, I freed it up, I let it go, right? You never hear a player say, well, you know what, I just hung on, I just held off that release just enough. I tucked my elbow, really, like I scrunched it in there and I firmed it up just so it wouldn't go left. And I did that for 72 holes all week. I'm exhausted, but I won the tournament. That just doesn't happen, right? The best players are the ones who can let it go and free it up under the most pressure possible, right? And so there's a feeling of relief, of safety, of freedom to be able to swing your swing unencumbered, fully free, and know your ball is going to do what you want it to do. And that's the ultimate way that you will play your best golf. And as a teacher, early on in my career, I would try to get people into certain positions, and I could babysit them through the lesson and get them to hit the ball well. And then they would come back to me a week later and say, you know what, I could do it in front of you, but I couldn't do it on my own.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, there's something wrong with what I'm doing. Now, they might look like, Mark O'Meara, or they might look like Adam Scott when they're doing it, but they're not getting the results and they're not repetitive. So that was on me. And what I've learned through the years is to really understand the person in front of me is giving me all the answers. I just have to test them to find out what those answers are. And then, teaching becomes really easy, because now you're getting people to do things they can do. And if you see their limitations onto what they can do, there are ways of working around those limitations by changing ball position, changing stance. And we can go down the rabbit hole of what any one of those parameters will do. But if I can get you, and I will get you to where you are setting up the way you're designed to do it, boy, things become so much easier for everybody.
Yeah. I want to go down that rabbit hole, and we're going to do that when we come back.
Sure.
Right after this. This episode is brought to you in part by tboxcoffee.com, a premium brand of coffee for golfers. You're clearly discerning about your weekly golf content, but if you're a coffee drinker, then I have to believe that you're also particular about your first cup of coffee each morning. My guess is that you may even grind your own beans each morning. Well, then let me ask you this. Do you have any idea where your beans were roasted? Or maybe how long they've been sitting on the grocery store shelf that you purchased it from? Now, picture yourself waking up in the morning to brew a cup of freshly roasted, specialty grade premium coffee, roasted for golfers, that was delivered right to your door. Introducing T-Box Coffee. T-Box Coffee is a roast-to-order coffee company, meaning they don't roast the beans until your order is placed. Roasted and packed the same day helps seal in maximum flavor and freshness. T-Box Coffee has 8 different roasts, from light to robust to cold brew and even decaf, delivered in either a whole bean or ground. And all of it is your choice. Every time you buy from T-Box Coffee, you earn points that can be redeemed for rewards such as free coffee, discount on exclusive merchandise, or even gift card giveaways to your favorite golf store. So check them out right now and try the delicious T-Box Coffee at tboxcoffee.com. And when you use the code GolfSmarter20, that's GolfSmarter20 at checkout, you'll receive 20% off your first order. Then, when you're completely satisfied, they offer a convenient subscription that can be changed or canceled at any time and allows you to choose your coffee and the frequency in which you want it delivered. But as a Golf Smarter listener, you also get 15% off the discount for the subscription. Every industry has to have their own coffee, right? Well, now it's time for golfers to have one too. T-Box Coffee, a premium coffee for golfers. Go to tboxcoffee.com, that's T-E-E-B-O-X coffee.com, and use code GolfSmarter20 to receive 20% off your first order. All right, let's dig deep into that rabbit hole, because there's so many questions that I had about what you were saying. It's like when you're looking at somebody, take some swings first. Let me see what I'm seeing. I've tried to look at people when they're swinging, and I'm looking at something specific. And granted, I'm not qualified to give instruction. I'm just watching everybody swing these days in different ways. But can you see the whole thing at once, or what do you notice first? I guess is my question.
So what I notice right off the bat is what their ball flight looks like, what's happening with their contact. Is the contact too steep? Is it too shallow? Or is it just right? Is the ball flight, too high, too low? Is it curving one way or the other? That's the obvious stuff that we see. And I can't really I can see the swing they're making that's going to produce that, but I don't know if it's right for them until I measure them. Right. So I feel like I'm a little bit blind if flying blind, if I don't do the measuring first. Can I help somebody right away? Yeah, I can help somebody, and I can tell them 1 or 2 things to do to make their ball flight better on the next one. But have I really made them repetitive? Have I set them down the road to be the best golfer they can be? Probably not at that point. But if you give me 3 minutes, I think I can actually do it if you're listening to my instruction on how to do each assessment, I can probably do it in a minute and a half. And now it's like all my answers are right there. I'm like, okay, well, this is how you're designed to do it. And then what happens is once they do it, they're like, oh my God, this is so easy. I'm like, yeah, because now you're doing it the way you're designed to do it. And so you just have to swing now. Go ahead and swing. Give me some speed. And I talk about speed a lot because now you're free. You're not having to, compensate. So you can actually free it up, let it go, and really release the club and be the longest golfer that you can be, the most powerful golfer you can be. A lot of good players will say to me, oh my goodness, that's how I played when I was a kid. Before they got instructions saying, well, you need to do this because this is what Tiger does, or you need to do this because this is what Jack did. Or it's like, well, if you're arm doesn't do what it isn't designed to externally rotate, then you probably can't do what Matt Wolff does, even if you like him as a player, or what Jim Furyk does. If you're somebody who's designed like Brooks Koepka with a weaker trail hand grip, and you're friends with Dustin Johnson, who's got a stronger trail hand grip and hits more up on the ball, then if Dustin copies Brooks, he ruins himself. And if Brooks copies Dustin, he ruins himself. I think one of the traits of really great players who have sustained their ability for a long period of time at the highest level is they have found their biomechanics, whether it was through a teacher or just on their own, to hit great shots. And they were headstrong enough not to let somebody interfere with it. So that takes a lot, especially think about players out on tour. There's all these fabulous teachers out there, right? And if you're struggling for a week, it's very easy to kind of get rabbit ears and start listening to everybody. Well, is the information they're giving correct for you? If they're not measuring, they don't know. Let's put it that way. So just because their player is doing well, that teacher's player is doing well that week, doesn't mean it works for you. So that's the thing that I feel like really good players have somehow tapped into what they do well, and maybe don't even know they do it, which is probably even better. Ignorance is bliss. Hey, this is how I hit the ball well. Shut up. I'm not going to listen to you. I don't care if Adam Scott looks prettier doing it. I'm Jim Furyk, and I'm going to go ahead and do what I do because that's how I'm a Hall of Famer. And I think, I don't know, you could probably check. He might have even made more money than Adam Scott playing golf. So maybe not in endorsements, but at least in playing golf. So you've got to be you. And when you said it's your swing, or that Arnold Palmer ad where he said, swing your swing, it's your golf swing. It's like, yes, it is your golf swing. And your golf swing should be you, not somebody else. So all I'm doing is discovering who you are when I do the assessments. And once I know that, it's like, okay, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's like those artists, I think in Africa, where they just take a stone and they start chipping it away, and the image comes out just by chipping things away. The image comes through on its own. It just reveals itself. And that's what we're trying to do, is find the swing that reveals itself. But then we get caught up in a round of golf and, okay, this is working this round. And next round, it's not working as well as it did last round. So I'm going to start tweaking and changing things. And it's like not trusting what works best for us. Yeah.
That's where the good players are really disciplined in staying and doing what they're designed to do, because if you start tweaking every time, you're going to, random in, random out. But what's nice is like when you get measured and you understand, it's like, I need to go back to my biomechanics. I need to go back to being me. Probably the reason why you went off and started striking it poorly was you were experimenting, or something got off of where you needed to be. I'll show you, give you an example personally. I was taught a fundamentally neutral golf grip, V to the right shoulder, okay? When I test out, my V is to my nose like Ben Hogan. But I was taught to play golf V to the right shoulder. So if my V is to my right shoulder and I extend my arm, you can see how my arm rotates. If you just put your fist by your shoulder and then extend your arm out, your arm rotates, right? So with my right hand V to the right shoulder, full extension, which is giving me power, would close the club face. So where was my miss? For me, I'm a right-handed player. I missed it in the left trees. I remember I was playing the Asian tour, and I think I'm in Malaysia, and I'm on the driving range, and I get my driver out, and I hit about a 40-yard pull hook, and I'm like, it doesn't matter what continent I'm on, I still hook the golf ball. Right? And I hooked it through my junior golf. I hooked it through college. I hooked it through my professional career to the point where I had 2 or 3 shots around that would go so far left that it would put me either in a penalty situation or chip out situation. And at one point, I even called up Titleist and asked them if they could make me a set of open face golf clubs, because that was the only way I could, if I opened the face at address, I could actually hit the ball straight. And it wasn't until later, and I learned this measuring stuff, that I realized, if all I do is just put my trail hand grip, in my case, my right hand grip, V to the nose, Now, when I extend my arm, the club face stays square. So now I can be as powerful as I want and hit it dead straight. But I wasn't taught that because I was taught the neutral grip. Well, I was taught, and I'm a rule follower, right? So I've always followed the rules in school. And so I followed the rules of the coaching at the time. And that was, oh, you need to have a neutral grip. And so there it was. My neutral grip produced hooks. And if I would have said, hey, this grip doesn't work, I'm just going to go put it over here where I can hit it straight, you know, maybe I'd be playing and not teaching, although maybe it was a blessing in disguise because I love to teach. and you learn from that. So I now want to make sure that anybody I teach has the grip that's correct for them, because the grip, we want to keep going down this rabbit hole.
Please.
The trail hand grip is responsible for many things that happen during the swing. It's responsible for your club face points at impact. It's responsible for your path. It's responsible for attack angle. It's responsible for the direction that your wrist hinges. And it's responsible for how your trail elbow connects to your body. So if you get your trail hand grip out of what you're biomechanically designed to do, you're now fighting 5 things in your swing that you don't even realize that you had to fight and compensate for. And that's what was happening to me. So I could hold off the club face because my grip was making me hook it and hit it straight. But guess what? I was short because I was holding on. I wasn't able to release, which means let go, and just free it up and let it go. Anytime I would do that, I'd get on a par 5. I'm like, I got to get here in 2, see if I can eagle or birdie and get in this tournament. Extend my right arm, club face goes left, ball goes into the trees, and all of a sudden a birdie opportunity becomes, you know, trying to save a par or make a bogey, and you don't survive in professional golf or being the best golfer you can be when you have that in your game. So it's really, I mean, if there's anything I want my students to do, it's make sure that their grip is correct for them. I remember being at a conference early on in my career, and they had a panel of great teachers up there. I think this was the PGA Coaching and Teaching Summit in New Orleans back in like the early 90s. And they had a panel of experts, and the question was real simple. What's the most important thing in the swing? And the first guy said the grip. And I'm being in the audience, I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, come on, the grip. Let's just get your neutral grip on and whatever. Let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to the swing plane. Let's get to the, you know, attack angle. Let's get to that stuff. And he was right. If you don't get the grip right for you, the whole swing is really hard to do because you're going to compensate for a poor grip. So it may be tedious. It may not be the most fun, you know, fun thing to work on. But boy, if you get your grip on there correctly, all of a sudden, so many things can be freed up that allow you to be the best golfer you can be.
Fabulous. Quick question. Do you have siblings?
Yeah. Yes.
And how many?
1.
And are you the oldest?
Nope.
You're not. And you're a rule follower. Wow.
I am a rule follower, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. We'll be back right after this. The golf season's rolling along, and Draftkings Sportsbook, an official betting operator of the PGA Tour, has a gimme for new customers. Place any golf bet of at least $5 and get $100 in free bets no matter what. You can bet a golfer to win, bet single-round matchups, and so much more. As long as you throw down $5, you'll get $100 in free bets. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on the PGA Tour action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy golf contests. Draft your lineup of 6 golfers and compete for over $1 million in prizes each week. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. You must be 21 years or older. Restrictions apply. See our show notes for details. There's the old adage, PGA, position grip alignment, right? Hey, it's a new golf season. Let's start there.
Yeah, like Jack Nicklaus used to do with Jack Grout. Get all the pre-shot fundamentals intact. There's some wisdom there.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, it's different for Jack than it was for somebody else.
Right, right. Are we diluting our minds? Is diluting the right word? We're definitely flooding our minds with a lot of content. We're watching videos. We're watching. I'd much rather watch instructors on YouTube than watch commentary on the PGA Tour, because that's just a different game, right? PGA players.
Well, it's a different talent level, but it's not a different game, because they're all trying to do the same thing that every golfer's trying to do.
And that's hit it straight, or you get it in the fairway.
Get it in the fairway, hit it solidly, hit it straight, have predictability to your game, be able to hit the shot shapes you want, be able to hit the ball, make great contact, control your distance, all the things we're all trying to do. Let's put it this way. Teaching a PGA Tour player is the easiest lesson of the day. Because they're so talented, all you can do is say, do this, do this, do this. The next shot's good, right? So, but I don't teach them any differently. It's the same. They're a human being. They have their biomechanics, and this is how they're designed to do it. They just happen to be more explosive or powerful. And some people just, I can't say to you, you're going to come to me for a lesson, and you've been a 250-yard driver of the golf ball. You're going to be a 320-yard driver of the golf ball. But you'll get more power if you have your biomechanics correct, and then you're able to let go. You'll be able to access whatever you do have. And so we're all trying to do. We're all human beings. We're all trying to be the best we can be. And the tour players, they're just doing it at a high level because they are gifted athletes. And you can look at somebody after a few swings and say this person's got it and this person doesn't, but that doesn't mean that the person who doesn't can't be the best golfer they can be, right? A long time ago, I may have even talked about this on this podcast, but a long time ago, I stopped having expectations for my students of what they should do. Because some people, just the fact that they can hit a solid shot that goes up in the air, makes their day or, makes their year. And I might look at that player and say, boy, if that was my game, I'd play tennis because I don't want to hit my driver 125 yards. But they're ecstatic that it went up in the air and went straight and went 125 yards. That's their game, right? That wouldn't be okay for me, but that's okay for them. So I want them to just be able to be the best golfer they can be. And I think it's at the tour level, it's the same thing. They're trying to do the best they can, and they need to be, if they want to compete with all of that talent out there, you can be talented. And if you're fighting your biomechanics, you're going to, I don't want to mention any names, but there's plenty of players whose names we used to see on the leaderboard all the time who are no longer there. And what happened to them? Now, people are human, right? There's personal problems, there's injuries, but there are plenty of golfers who you saw on the leaderboard and all of a sudden they're not around anymore. What do you think happened? They got some information from somewhere. They tried it. It didn't work for them, or they tried to get better because they were like, oh yeah, well, I want to win a major now, so I'm going to change my game so I can play better at Augusta. Or that's what happened to Martin Keimer. Martin Keimer wanted to draw the golf ball. Once he became the number one player in the world, he said, okay, that fade. Okay, that was fine. I got to number one, but I want to win Augusta, and I got to draw it at Augusta. And then he started messing with that. He went all the way down to like 400 in the world. And then once he went back to the grip that worked for him, he went back to, won the Players, won the US Open. It's like, you got to be you. One of the most impressive things, by the way, of Tiger Woods is the fact that he's been able to win with so many different swings.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a story about him.
Please.
As I don my red Tiger Sunday shirt here. So Tiger went to Stanford, and we got to I went to Stanford, so and he's a few years younger than me, and I got to play in an alumni match against him. As I'm walking down the fairway, we're just playing a kind of a fun alumni thing, and I said, hey, Tiger, this is when he was 19. I said, you're coming down the stretch. You got to hit a fairway. It's a narrow par 4. What do you do? Oh, he goes, easy. 2-iron, low 2-iron with a little 260-yard low 2-iron with a little fade. Well, what shot is he describing? The stinger.
Sure.
How many times did you see Tiger hit a stinger throughout his career? Low compressed fade. Well, Tiger is designed to hit compressed fades. Greatest iron player ever, arguably, right? How has his driver been through the years? Sporadic, right? Sometimes good, sometimes not so good.
Right.
Better drivers, the golf ball hit up on the ball. Tiger's designed to hit down on the golf ball. If you watch Tiger, even now, even after all his injuries and everything, his bread and butter shot's a fade. Just like that Stinger, right? That's what he's designed to do. Okay, so regardless of what all those iterations of his golf swing, you put him in in a pressure situation, he wants to hit a compressed, faded golf ball. Now, his fade might go 2 yard fade, right? It's not going to be a chop slice like a weekend golfer. It's a bullet fade, right? So that's how he's designed to do it. It has to do with his biomechanics. And when he goes away from that and tries to get under it and hit up on it, he starts to mess up. And I think one of the worst things that happened to Tiger was the fact that, shafts got longer, graphite came in, and he couldn't basically hit down on his old TaylorMade burner driver and beat everybody that way. And then he started trying to hit up on it. But that's another rabbit hole we can go down as well. But the thing is, you got to be true to yourself. And when he's true to himself down the stretch, he hits fades. And so you can see that he said it when he was 19 and he's still doing it today. And he's 45 or whatever he is now.
Wow.
6 maybe. Yeah.
So making those changes, I've noticed for myself, and I'm trying to avoid this these days, is when I'm playing golf well, but then there's little things that could be better, I start making changes. I start seeking out coaching, and it's always ends up being the exact worst time to make changes, as opposed to accepting that it's working, stay with it, relax. Don't try to make, adjustments during the round. When's the right time to make changes?
Well, the right time to make changes is probably not just before you go into competition, right?
Okay.
Because changes take time to neurologically wire in your brain, right? Okay. That's a whole other rabbit hole, right? Yeah. So there are times like you see players in the off season start to make some whether it's equipment changes or swing changes or looking at their stats from the prior year. So I would say that if you're a weekend golfer and there's not you don't have a tournament schedule coming up and you come and take a lesson from me or somebody else who's going to measure you, who really understands what you're designed to do, I'd make those changes immediately, because why not start down the road of being the best golfer you can be? I tell people, if I find something that's going to help me, I want to do it yesterday. And that's me, because I want to see how good I can get. Right. And again, I'm still looking to see how good I can get, because I love the game. I love playing the game, not just teaching it, but playing it and seeing how good I can be. So to answer your question, it depends on the player. By the way, every golf question, the answer is it depends, by the way. That's a good thing just to tell you. That's a Mike Adams right there. He goes, yeah, the answer to every golf question is it depends. Should my grip be strong? Well, it depends. Do you measure out as strong? Should I be shallowing my club in the downswing with my right elbow getting in front of my body? I don't know. Are you an under golfer with a lot of external shoulder rotation?
It depends.
If that's yes. If not, then no. So it depends, right? Now I lost my train of thought. What were we just talking about?
Making changes.
Oh, making changes, right? So
it depends. It depends what you're asking me.
It depends on, hey, are you in tournament season? It depends on, hey, I'm going to go make these changes. They haven't, they haven't really. I want to use the word myelinated, which is basically neurologically wired enough, long time enough that they're going to come out. Tiger used to say, I need more reps whenever you make a change. I need more reps until it became what comes out, because we develop habits through repetition, and then eventually the new habit will take the place of the old habit and it'll come out more often. One of the things I tell people, and this is a Jim Hardy-ism, one of my mentors, Jim Hardy, absolutely cannot thank him enough for what he's done for my career. He says recency can trump frequency. And what he meant by that is, if you're doing something new, hey, let's change we're gonna adjust your grip. And if you don't get that feeling, or we're going to try to shallow your swing by keeping your back to the target a little longer, whatever the change may be, if you don't feel it first, you're probably going to go back to what you frequently do, which is your habit. But if you can rehearse something beforehand, the feeling, the position, then that recent feel can trump the frequent motion that you have in your habit, right? So this also applies to like playing the game. And I'll use Tiger. I'm a huge fan of his golf. So Tiger is always rehearsing what he wants to do. He'll talk to his caddy. He'll say, okay, what's the yardage to the front? He'll be looking at the shot. He'll be kind of moving the club around his hands. He always says he feels the shots in his hands. So you can kind of see him sensing, am I going to cut it? Am I going to hit it high? Am I going to hit it low? What am I going to do with it? But he's sensing that. And so that's the last thing his body feels before he actually executes the shot, right? So even if it's not necessarily the shot he typically hits, he's got a better chance of it happening if he rehearses it first. So there's a little nugget for the listeners out there. Rehearse what you're trying to do, and you got a better chance of it happening, even if it's not your dominant habit. And then through repetition of the correct motion for you or the change that you're trying to make, eventually with repetition, it becomes your dominant habit. And then that's kind of what you do when you don't even think.
Well, one more time out, and then we'll be back. I wanted to ask you, I want to follow up question with what you just said. So we'll be back right after this. Over the last few years, we've kicked off the spring golf season with 2 full months of Tony Manzoni episodes that feature instruction on his single pivot golf swing, developed through years of studying everything Ben Hogan did, said, and wrote. Well, based on the reaction, I'm pretty certain that we'll continue to have that 2 months of Tony every year for the foreseeable future. But there's one episode in the series that has never been included or replayed yet that I think you're really going to enjoy, which is what we're featuring this week on Golf Smarter Mulligans. The very first time we met Tony was in 2010, and he was brought on with a gentleman named Ted Caldwell, who had just developed a training aid that was clearly ahead of its time called the Shot Watch. But our conversation with Ted was at the end of the episode. Here's a taste of our primary conversation, our initial conversation with Tony Manzoni.
In my mind, I don't think anyone's ever controlled the ball like Ben Hogan. He played off the left side. He played off of one axis. There's 2 axis points in the swing, left leg, right leg. In moving to the right leg, you have to make some kind of a lateral move back to the left leg and then rotate around the left leg. And that transitional move is where all the problems happen in the golf swing. And also, if you're rolling your arms or crossing your arms over, the club head is going to be open a long time, close a long time, and square for just a moment. And the more you practice, the closer you can get to square more often. But there's still a lot of error involved in that swing.
That's Golf Smarter Mulligans, the best of the Golf Smarter archives, now with a new logo. Game improvement, interesting golf conversations never get old, which is why this and many of the Golf Smarter Mulligans episodes are still relevant and helpful today. That's Golf Smarter each Tuesday and Golf Smarter Mulligans released every Friday. Please subscribe and review us from wherever you listen to your podcasts. Rehearse, visualize. Same? Different, and what you advocate for?
I think it's all part of it, right?
Okay.
Because if you're going to throw a ball and you have a trajectory in mind, right? You're kind of looking at the trajectory of the shot. Like think of short game. Short game is a great example because short game, oftentimes we're using just 1 or 2 clubs to hit many different shots, right? If you have a 7-iron, it's like if you hit your 7-iron 175 yards, it's like, this is a stock 7-iron. I'm making my regular swing. But in short game shots around the green, we're kind of using mostly wedges, especially for pitching. But the wedge might have to be at a different trajectory, right? One wedge might have to go low where it would go over the bunker, but then it would release 35 feet to a back pin. Another one might be more of a flop shot. So when you say rehearse and visualize, is a difference. Like that picture of that high shot over the bunker is already going into the feeling of my shot. I might look up there and my body all of a sudden tilts a little bit and my spine is at a little different angle because I'm looking up there. So it's all kind of interrelated. So I think it's hard to separate the two.
Multiple times in this conversation you've talked about, now give me the power. Now, how does that relate to swinging harder, or is it swinging faster? and how would you
yeah.
define that?
So a lot of times when people think about swinging harder, they get tense. And in general, tension is not a great way to move something faster. But when it comes to putting power into a golf swing, we use the ground in different ways, right? We use the ground side to side. We can call that lateral or linear. We rotate or torque the ground, and we also use vertical force where we're jumping out of the ground. And every golfer uses all three. So once we get the golfer to have their correct pre-shot biomechanics and get the contact in the center of the face and a repetitive ball flight, then we get that really fun part, which is, okay, now we get to sprinkle in the power, right? And the way we're designed with our grip also has to do with how we use the ground. And I don't know if we have time to go down that rabbit hole, but basically we have spinners, we have launchers, we have gliders, and based on your trail hand grip position, it makes your body do some different things. So believe it or not, already when I've moved your grip into the correct place for you, I've already started the power sequence in the correct direction, because it's how you're designed to hit it far. And there's many ways of hitting it far, and it's just got to be the way you do it based on your biomechanics. And then we can start to amplify that. But can't put the cart before the horse. If you're looking for power right away and you don't have your biomechanics right and your setup right, you're not going to be powerful, and you're probably going to hurt yourself. So don't go there until you understand who you are, what your swing is. Yeah. But as a teacher, it's like when you get to that point where it's like, okay, now you're hitting it solidly, you're hitting it straight. Well, let's sprinkle in some power stuff. That's where it gets even more fun.
I'm going to throw out some random things here. Conversation that's been going on a lot with my group, and that is with your driver, your tee position, straight up, tilted back towards your right hand, if you're right-handed, or tilted forward.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah.
What say you, Josh Zander?
I have no evidence that says any tee or any direction of the tee has any influence on what the ball is going to do. I don't have any evidence of it. If you do, I would love to learn. And if you give me something that's actually going to make the ball go longer, then I will teach it to my students. But I plead ignorance on that one. I haven't heard of anything yet.
Because you're trying to because you put the ball forward in your stance with your driver, you're trying to go on the upswing.
Yeah.
Is that correct? You want to catch it a little bit on the up?
It depends. Yeah. It depends. Yeah. What are you trying to do? We have our fairway finder that we don't want the ball forward in the stance on a fairway finder. When you hit that little stinger, you're not going to put it forward in your stance. And the ball position changes based on your biomechanics too. So again, it depends. But I could basically say as a general rule, if you want to hit the longest drive possible, you do want to hit up on it. That's what the data shows.
I have a feeling the name of this episode is going to be, It Depends. It depends.
It depends.
You want to get better at golf? It depends.
Yeah. So why not find out what it is for you? So you're not sitting there kind of like grabbing at straws and hoping something works and wondering why you're not.
Right. Consistent. Exactly. It depends. What's right for you? You're a student of golf instruction, aren't you? You're not just a teacher, but you're a student.
Yeah. I think I'm a student before I'm a teacher, because just like I have a desire to learn. I think that curiosity, being humble and knowing that you don't have all the answers just makes you a better teacher. I think that's just, if I give advice to any like new teachers, it's like, don't think you know it all. Learn as much as you can. Listen to people who are doing it differently than you. Just be open to that, because there's going to be wisdom there. There's wisdom in almost everything. There's wisdom in every piece of information that's out there about the golf swing. My job is to make sure that, hey, the line points to, oh, this works for you, this doesn't. So I feel like I'm the filter, if you will, of that information. And one of the things I tell my students at the end of each lesson is like, you now know who you are. Your job is to block out all the noise out there that might be interfering with, because those videos, those great teachers out there, they may be giving amazing information, and most of them are, but is it applicable? That's where you have to. I think that's part of my job as a teacher, is to guide them, saying, hey, now that you understand who you are, make sure you stay down this road and don't go off on tangents, because it could lead you down the wrong road. And if you are going to experiment, I would say, ask me, because I can save you a lot of time. I can say, hey, that's a good thing to go do. That's not a good thing to go do. And you definitely learn from making mistakes. I mean, it's not that you can, but I'm like, I'd rather save you the time, because the minute you say, so if you give me any piece of information, I can tell you right away how that's going to affect ball flight and contact based on where you are right now, throughout anything. So, because it's kind of like, quick story. The other day, we had a plumbing problem in our house. The first plumber came in. It was in her kitchen sink. It was clogged. Okay. So the first plumber came in, and he's like undoing everything under the sink. He's about to put a hole in my wall to access some other pipe. And he goes, let me call my boss first. So he calls his boss. And his boss is like, where does this pipe lead? I said, well, it leads down to the garage. And he goes down the garage, and he kind of listens into the pipe. And he kind of knocks on it with his finger or with his pencil or something. He goes, he's an Irish guy. I don't do an Irish accent, but he goes, your clog's right here. So, and he goes, and by the way, it's about to explode. So when I open it up, I'm going to open up really slowly and let the pressure out. And he goes, by the way, every hour I'm here is another $350. So he goes, I'm going to let it out slowly. Eventually, after about 25 minutes, he goes, I'm going to open this up. It's going to explode. Are you willing to do the cleanup? I'm like, let's just do the cleanup. I'll just get this thing done. And he was right. It's exactly where he went. And the other guy who was here before him was like, so basically, if you don't know what you're doing, you can go down the wrong road, and it could be a total disaster. So my advice to your listeners is surround yourself with the right team. Make sure you understand who you are, and you're going to go down the road where your pipes don't get clogged. And things are going to flow, to use it, to keep going on with the analogy, because that's when golf gets super fun, in those days where you're in the zone and everything's just going. And I mean, how fun is that? That just makes it all. So
dude, my drain is clogged with information right now. Josh, it is so great to have you back on the show every single time. It's worth it. And it just takes me back to the first time that I met you, which was at a group situation. You were giving a clinic, and I was just enamored from that moment on, and I still am.
Short game clinic, I remember that. Yeah.
Again, XanderGolf.com, Instagram.
Yep.
Xander Golf app. And I'll put the link in today's show notes, so you can get 50% off that app. Take advantage of this Stanford knowledge. This is unbelievable. Zach.
Go Stanford.
Go Stanford. Go Red. Great to talk to you again, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Fred. It's a pleasure.
Have you checked out the Xander Golf app yet? Well, if you'd like to get the best of Josh, from lesson plans to individualized instruction, then Josh is offering the Golf Smarter community 50% off of his app through the end of 2022. I mean, you could take advantage of it anytime for the rest of 2022. It works for both iOS or Android devices, and I want you to check it out now and save 50% on his membership. I'll include a link in today's show notes and at today's blog post featuring Josh at GolfSmarter.com, so that you can take advantage of this generous offer that he's making for 50% off of the Xander Golf app through the end of 2022. Today's episode was introduced by another Golf Smarter listener who gets to share with his golf buddies that he's on a podcast and is a Golf Smarter ambassador. So thanks, Mitch Benzing of Decorah, Iowa, who plays at Iowa's Southland Country Club. He's also getting the opportunity to choose a gift that he'd like to receive for opening today's episode. Wouldn't you like to get a free gift just for leaving a voicemail? I mean, what kind of offer is that? We actually have a variety of prizes to choose from. So write to GolfSmarterPodcast@gmail.com or click on the Hey Fred button at GolfSmarter.com and let me know that you'd like to introduce an upcoming episode, and I'll send you the simple instructions. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for upcoming episodes, please click on the Hey Fred button at GolfSmarter.com.